Thank you to all my channel members, including my fan appreciation level members and my contributor level members, for helping support the YouTube channel. Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book, Circle of Days by Ken Follett. This is a historical fiction novel about the building of Stonehenge. This is the first Ken Follett book in 3 years. His last book was The Armor of Light, which I have a review for. This was the last Kingsbridge book to come out, and so I have a review on this on the channel. But so it's been 3 years since he's done a book at all, and so it's a big deal for Ken Follett to be coming back. He's been doing actually a lot of marketing for this book, which is surprising, but it is set in 2500 BC England. It is about the various tribes that decide to build this monument because they are having some religious issues and they believe building this monument will help them out with the gods. And so it is a pretty big book. It is in word count not as big as you might expect it to be because there's actually some pretty large font in this book. So even though it's about 680 pages, I would guess to be under 200,000 words. I would guess it's actually probably closer to 150,000. So it's not a crazy long read. I read it in the standard. You know, my standard for Ken Follett's historical fiction books is 3 days. I've read each of the Kingsbridge books in 3 days, and this one is the same. And I think that is apt because this book is very much like the Kingsbridge books, the Pillars of the Earth series, and in its design, in the formula of the way he writes. In fact, specifically, Pillars of the Earth is a great comp for this because both books are about the building of this monumental religious site. Both books are about people with vision. You have a religious individual and a builder, and the two of them together push forward this idea of building this religious monument. In one case, it's a cathedral in medieval England. In the other one, it's Stonehenge in prehistoric England. And so, because the books have that formula, a lot of us were asking, is Circle of Days a Kingsbridge novel? And the answer is no. It has nothing to do with Kingsbridge. However, because it adheres to the formula so much and even has the same kind of character drama and stuff that a Kingsbridge book would have, this would slot in perfectly as a prequel to the Kingsbridge era. And I'm not saying that you should add this in, I'm just saying if you did, it would fit, because again, it follows the formula very well. However, I'm going to have a lot of negative in this video because I noticed a lot of things that I think areas where he followed the formula wrong, and it made it a weaker version of his historical fiction books. Preface that by saying I loved the book. I had a great time. I read it in 3 days. I was hooked. But there are definitely ways he could have improved this book. So let's start talking about how the book unfolds. The book has several different types of characters that you're following. You have Seft, who is the stone flint miner who ends up trying to become a builder, and he kind of joins the main tribe that's located near the wooden monument. And he mates with this woman Neen, and they start having a family, and he has this vision for building the monument, as does Neen's little sister, Joya, who is the priestess, the very young priestess who kind of takes lead and decides to help build the monument. You also follow the Neen and Joya's brother Han, and specifically you follow the POV of his mate Pia, who is from the farm tribe. You have the herder tribe, which is the main tribe near the monument, then you have the farmer tribe, and then you have the woodsman tribe. The farmer tribe is very closed off, and the leaders of that do not like the herder tribe as much. They work with them and do things with them, but they don't like them. And the leader of the farmer tribe kind of forbids them to mate with the herders, and there's a whole lot of stuff that happens there. And so you're following all these different characters. The character of Pia, the woman from the farmer tribe, and the character of Seft, the guy from the flintstone worker who becomes a miner who becomes a builder. They were fascinating, and I loved reading their perspectives. But surprisingly, both of them were very much sidelined for a lot of the book. A particularly large amount of the book is just about Joya, who is the priestess. And because the book is so pagan, because the book is so unchristian in the way that it tells the tale, because this was before Christianity, it just made it awkward reading all of Joya's sequences. And just so much of her stuff should have been appealing because she's supposed to be the Prior Philip character, but Joya is no Prior Philip. And because of that, I did not think that what she did worked well in this book at all. I think that Joya could have worked better if she had had more actual vision in the book and if she had been focused on the building more. Instead, she has all these other things that she's dealing with that just weren't appealing to me as a reader. We also take a long time for the actual building. The actual building of the monument doesn't even start until about 2/3 of the way through the book. You spend about the first third with characters, introducing the characters, having the character drama that you see with characters mating. They don't call it marriage because it's, prehistoric times, but it's with characters mating and characters getting together and there being battles and characters, you having, idiot characters and stuff like that. There's all that in the first 200 pages. Then the middle 200 pages is when a bunch of conflicts happen. Some people have ideas for building the monument, but it still hasn't happened yet. And so it takes forever for us to get to the point where the monument's being built. And when the monument was being built, it was utterly riveting and fascinating, but that wasn't until the last 200 pages of the book. Compare it with Pillars of the Earth. It's pretty early on that they actually start the building process, and it takes, the whole 1,000-page book with really small print. There's a huge difference between these 1,000-page book, really small print, but it unfolds over a long period of time and takes a while, but it feels like it never loses sight of that. Whereas this really, I think the monument becomes secondary to the character stuff, which is a problem, which it does here too, but you never lose sight of it. Whereas here, you could have easily, if they had not titled the book Circle of Days and not shown Stonehenge on the cover and stuff, I think that you could have easily forgotten that that's what the book is about and not just a character drama book set in 2500 BC. And I won't use BCE, it's BC. So those are my thoughts on that part of the book. I thought that the action sequences, particularly in the middle and end of the book, I thought were really well done. Again, follow certain formulas that Ken Follett does. I thought that the villain was entertaining, but he wasn't as well developed. You don't see that much of the villain. Although he does do something that I thought was very clever towards the beginning of the book. I did think he did something pretty clever at the beginning. There is so much pagan elements in this book, so much of it, because it's essentially the Druids that you're following. And I understand that in prehistoric times, people were not acting under, Christian morality, so I'm not expecting them to. But for Ken Follett to just keep focusing and honing in on it was just gross and just frustrating and tiring. And he could have laid it on a little thinner. He could have eased off on what he was trying to do with the worldview. And because it's set in 2500 BC, we don't know a lot about the building of Stonehenge, so he has to make assumptions. So I understand that and kind of give him some leeway on that from a historical perspective, but there's just sometimes, particularly with the way that some of the characters made it, that I was like, really, that seems like a 21st century thing, not a 2500 BC thing. Maybe that's what they did, but I don't think that it is necessarily what they were doing. Anyway, the whole conflict between the farmers and the herders I thought was really well done. And then you have the woodsmen who get thrown in there, but the woodsman stuff, if there was been more of the woodsmen, I think it would have been better, but they kind of are an offshoot. It's like, oh yeah, and the woodsmen are here. But the farmers versus the herders was great. In fact, the whole time I read about their conflicts, all I could think of was in Oklahoma, oh, the farmer and the cowman should be friends. Anyway, I don't know if there's musical theater fans in here like I am, but it is funny that is the central premise of the book, is farmers and cowhands not getting along. And in fact, there are cows, which makes it even funnier. So that is my review of Circle of Days. I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's an enjoyable book. And you may think, man, you had a lot of criticisms for an 8 out of 10. Yes, because I know what a 10 out of 10 for this book can be, and that's Pillars of the Earth. so I know when the formula works perfectly. But even with all those criticisms, it was a pure delight. The character drama was really interesting. I was really invested, and I thought that it was still really entertaining. I just think it could have been better. So that's an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. So if you've read Circle of Days, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.